The Lord of Darkness vowed to return in 1,000 years. Time passed, and Dark Dragon was forgotten by all. 10 centuries of peace ruled the land of Rune. Until the kingdom of Runefrost brought war and fear to Rune.
Keith is back, ladies and gentlemen.
Here he is.
Back from his, 2-week?
Yeah, 2-week.
2-week slumber.
2-week sabbatical. No, yeah, the daughter's she's recovering. She's doing a lot better, as you know, without going in all the details. But yeah, we're on the path to healing, man, and getting to where we want to be. So
That's good to hear.
yeah, it's good to be back, though.
We all wanted a nice, speedy recovery. At least I would hope so. I don't know. There might be some wackos on the other side of that camera that might think a little differently. So I saved a special game just for you because I know you love this game, and I wanted to wait until now to unveil it.
Yes, all right.
So what we're going to talk about today is Shining Force for the Sega Genesis.
メガドライブからタクティカル RPG 超大作シャイニングフォース
My man.
So
All
I
right.
remember we had a conversation in my kitchen, and you had recommended Shining Force, or you had mentioned that it was one of your favorite games from when you were a kid.
Of all time.
And
Yes.
funny enough, I'm in a Facebook group. A guy named John had recommended the group play it as like a play-along.
Right.
So I started to play it based on your recommendation and his, and I thought it was a really solid game. It took me by complete surprise because I like RPGs, but when it gets to like the tactical RPGs,
Right.
I'm very like, I don't know, because it's just too much time to like having to plan out your attack, and you have to move, and like I don't have patience for that.
This is not for you. It's not.
I do have patience for it, but I don't at the same time, if that makes sense.
You have to be maybe in the right mood, per se. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your nostalgia for this game.
I love Shining Force. So this game, I first played probably when I was 8 or 9, way too young. I had no idea what I was doing. As you know, a couple of things that are a little quirky with it are the menu navigating.
The inventory is
inventory
definitely-
management's
yeah.
tough. And at that age, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just going in and just like attacking units. Like I had no idea what to do aside from use magic and attack. And I just didn't have a brain for strategy. But eventually, then later in life, probably junior high school age, I revisited it as a young adult and loved it. Then I eventually replayed it again as a full-grown adult, full-grown little man, all right? And seriously, man, it's an incredible game. So, it's a strategy-based RPG. The story it's lighthearted, it's fun, it's your normal, save the kingdom from the forces of darkness type thing, your bread and butter type of, story. But it's got some cute elements to it. It's a very forgiving game. You're not going to get angry. You want to break your controller over it. It's a lot of fun, especially with like the. I know you played it on the Switch.
Yeah.
So you've got your rewind feature, which you love.
Yes, I definitely took advantage of that. Just not as a safety net, but just as a time save, because you make little incremental mistakes of like moving a certain character more than the other characters, and it's maybe not your strongest attacker, or they might not do the most damage, or what have you. So saving yourself some time with those mistakes, saving yourself some time with like if you just made a wrong move or had a person that you didn't want to have in your arsenal, you can just easily rewind and go backwards to just
Just a little eraser.
Exactly,
Yes. You know,
yes.
fix it up a bit. No.
Yes.
And that was obviously something on the Sega Genesis, not an option.
Yeah.
If you make a wrong move, or you know, not just one wrong move, but you have to make a few bad moves.
Yeah.
You know, but it's still forgiving. So, you know, say your main party character who's Max, you know, gets eliminated, that's over. So it's either if he gets eliminated or your whole party, it's over at that point. But it's forgiving because you can go back in the battle. I'm pretty sure you keep your experience.
Pretty sure, yeah.
From what I recall, but it's so much fun. In the whole scheme of things, I think you can pick from a total of, by the end game, like 30 characters.
30,
I think you can have 12 units at a time on the battlefield.
Maybe not.
12, 15. It's somewhere along those lines.
I don't think it's that many.
Maybe less.
It's like
10.
10.
Regardless, somewhere
about
around
10,
there. Yeah. But you know, you've got everything to pick from. You know, you've got your archers, your mage class, your swordsmen, your dwarven units, healers, which are awful. They're the worst to try and
They
level
are
up.
the absolute worst because they
They're
don't level up
terrible.
as fast.
They don't, because they only get experience points for healing. You know, it's like 10 experience points. That's like 100 points.
It's nothing compared to what you get for like
Your heavy hitters.
killing an enemy in battle. You get that massive XP.
48, up to 48 experience points, you know, and it takes 100 to level up. But it's a great game to play, you know, for, you know, varying ages. You can't be too young, you know, like my experience, or like I can't give this to my 5-year-old to play. You know, I would recommend it, you know, I don't know what, like 10, 11, 12.
Probably somewhere around there to get started, to kind of start to figure out how things go. And when you get to like the difficult parts, you can, you know, ask for help, or you can, you know, look it up on the internet. We do live in an age where anybody can look up anything for a game on the internet and find infinite answers to whatever they need to do. So this game was published by Sega. It's the second game in the series, which I didn't know. I thought it was the first, with the other game on the Genesis being Shining Force 2.
Yes.
I thought this was the first one. Apparently not. It was released in 1992, and like we said, it is a turn-based tactical RPG. You can play this game anywhere. You can play it on Steam. It's like $1, which is fantastic, and you don't
Not bad.
You don't have to have a crazy powerful PC to play a Sega Genesis game from 92. You can play it on the Sonic Sega Collection on the PS3, 360, PS4, which I don't think is relatively that expensive, especially if you get it for like the PS3 and 360.
Right.
And you get a lot of other Sega games on top of that, which is fantastic. But yeah, like this game, you have to know how to manage like a weird inventory system, and you have to like have enough wits about you to know what weapons go with where, how to upgrade those, how to kind of like build your character, because they don't really tell you anything.
No hand holding. It's just you're thrown into it.
With any of the equipment, like when you get the bracelets and stuff, typical RPGs, you just equip it and it gives you the buffs right then and there. This game, you have to use the item in battle, and if you use it, I think, twice, it does just disintegrate and it's gone forever.
They have the ability to break. Yes.
So that was a problem that I ran into when I was playing it on the Switch, is how to use these bracelets, or what these weapons did, or why when I equipped it a certain thing,
like it
gave somebody a curse and they were taking damage, and I was like, what the heck is going on? So I did like Google it, and I was like, what is happening here?
Right.
And it gave me all this information. I was like, how was I ever supposed to know? And I mean, granted, I don't have the game in its original form with the case, the manual.
Yes.
A lot of these older games that you pick up loose cart because they're much cheaper than their complete in box versions. A lot of the information's in those manuals. They were meant to open the manual and read, you know, about the game, and we don't have that anymore.
It's not a thing.
Usually, like this kind of game nowadays would give you a huge long
Tutorial at the beginning, it's forced.
It
yes.
would give you like all this information to where like it's just causing you to spend more time in the game. That's really not even advancing the story. It's just telling you the mechanics of the game and stuff like that. Which, like we said, these games didn't do that. They didn't hold your hand.
Not
you had
at
to
all.
figure it out.
You were thrown into it. You figured it out.
Which was
better or
great
worse.
because back when these games came out, they weren't releasing games as quick as they are now.
Yes.
Like the
like
life
weekly.
cycle of games now is just
Exactly.
they're popular for a week and then they're gone and it's on to the next thing. Which is why we like to revisit these old games because
Shine some light on them. Yes. I didn't even mean that. I didn't even do that. That was not intentional at all, actually. But yeah, no, it's huge. So for me, that like we talked about, like when we were talking about classic games, you know, for the Genesis a couple weeks ago, I was like, you gotta try Shining Force. You gotta do it, man. Just do it. I was so proud of you. I was so happy. I was so happy because this is literally like the pinnacle of gaming for me, from like being a child into my like teen years and then into adulthood, and it holds up for me. You know, of course, I'm biased. It's,
going in without any nostalgia for it at all.
Exactly.
No, I didn't look at YouTube videos. I didn't look at any gameplay.
which is not a lot of coverage on it.
I
It's
just
not.
picked it up and played it as far as I could without getting to a point where I'm like, I'm confused. I need to look something up. And yes, it 100% is a game that you could play at any point, you know, and it's good.
It is.
It's an RPG. It's typical RPG.
Like
Plus-
you could watch this as like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Kinda, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like the animation. The animations are great.
It's episodic and chapter.
Yes, it's episodic. And
based.
chapter based. So it is like, you know, you're forced forward, and you can't just roam around and engage in random battles. Every battle's set.
Yeah.
But it's still that it's just this beautiful mix with storytelling. You know, like I said, your classic storytelling, but with a couple fun twists and turns.
Yeah.
And they also, one thing that I really appreciate about it is they throw in some of those obtainable characters that are off the beaten path.
Yeah,
Some
the
that are
hidden
complete
characters,
secret, yes, hidden characters. You know, you got like Hanzo Musashi, an assassin, a shinobi. You know, Gong, who's like a monk. There's so many. And then there's one joke character. He's like that you might not have heard of. His name's Yogurt. He's like a little hedgehog, or a groundhog with a white helmet. And you come across him, and he's this adorable little thing with his little animation, and you're like, oh, okay, what is this guy? So you end up recruiting him. He does 1 HP. He's not meant to be used.
That
1
was a
HP
lot.
hit.
That was a lot of
Every time.
characters for me where I got them and I was like, oh wow, like this is gonna be a good character or whatever, and they just hit 1 HP and I'm like, no.
And you have to grind to get them there, you know. And by grind, it's you have to, you know, every move is it's speed based with this game as well. So, whoever, you know, has the correct speed statistic, that's, you know, how you're gonna. That's how it's determined, and you don't know whose turn it's going to be next. So it's not like the enemy party, you know, all attacks or moves or and what have you, their units, and then it's your turn. It's all over the place. So you have to really, it's really, for the time, it's a cool strategy game. Like it's different because you have no idea what's going to happen next.
Yeah, like you couldn't really grind like a typical RPG where you just go back and replay the same battles over and over, or you go out into the overworld and you can just pick your, you know, 1,000 different things that are going on around you to fight and level up characters and stuff. Like you had to really focus on like who you wanted and use them as much as you could in battle.
Precisely.
You couldn't go back and replay battles because once the battle was over and you progressed, that was it.
That's it.
So like you had to kind of plan for the grind of being in battle, using your character, and then like maybe just letting Max just take a beating, die, reinitiate the battle after it's over, and you respawn back at the cleric's or the priest's place, and then you go back to the battle and you just keep recycling the same thing. I don't know if that's a thing that's possible because I can't remember if you keep.
I'm pretty sure
your
you keep
XP?
your XP in your levels per that battle, because then you would say you weren't leveled as much, you'd kind of be stagnant and stuck forever.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that is mechanically put into the game though. But it hits everything for me, man. It's close to home for me. It's close to my heart.
Yeah.
It's so good. To me, it 100% holds up to this day. I did get it on my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
So you were mentioning earlier, you can get it everywhere. You really can, even your cell phone.
They even had a version you could buy on iOS. Like it was like you can buy certain games that like, from different areas of the history of games or whatever.
Right.
But they had a version you could buy on iOS, but they took it off the store, so you can't like officially buy it anymore.
That's depressing. I did how even though the like I mentioned the mobile app, the mobile game does exist. I don't recommend it. The buttons are like over top the screen.
Yeah,
it's wonky. It's weird. If you have a Switch, pick it up on Switch with the expansion.
Yeah, the Sega Genesis
Genesis expansion. Or like Steam for $1. It's fantastic. It's so good.
This game for $1 is an absolute steal.
I completely agree.
And it's not one of those crazy long RPGs either.
No,
it
you're right.
took me like obviously I had some help with the Switch Rewind and stuff to save a little bit of time. It took me about 8.5 hours, 9 hours to beat it, and I think if you just go through the game, and if I didn't use the rewind, I'd say it'd probably take me 15 to 20 hours, which
I think that's fair.
That for me is like a nice sweet spot in the time it takes to beat a game. Like that 15 to 20 hours is just perfect for the time that I get to play.
Correct.
Exactly. I was playing it on my Switch when we were all like in the living room. Lydia's just playing. Alicia's watching, 90 Day Fiancé or whatever she's watching at the time. I just get to sit there on my Switch and I get to play, and then it's easy just to pause it.
Right. Put it down.
Come back to it. And then like at night when it's really time for me to be like, okay, let's really dive in, I can put it on the TV or whatever and just dive in.
So good. Yes. And that's one of the things I like that you mentioned that about the the sweet spot is nowadays, with games, which isn't a bad thing, but you have games that you can just sink 100 hours into.
Yeah.
And still not complete everything. Mm-hmm. Still not turn over every rock. Whereas with these classics, man, that's what's nice is you can sit down just for an hour or two, 30 minutes, whatever you might have on.
Yeah.
And just grind some of it out a little bit.
Go through a battle, advance through the next town, put it down, pick it back up. You know where you're at. You don't have to get a refresher of where you're at in the story or even how to play the game again. Like I've put down some games where I've come back and I'm like, I don't even remember how to play this game.
Right.
This is pretty cut and dry. Go into battle, move your character, attack. Bam.
That's you're good to go.
It's not rocket science.
It's not. And it's funny with me. I experienced a similar thing. Like I went from what was it? Oh yeah, we were both playing the Resident Evil 4 remake at the same time, and then I switched to Horizon Zero Dawn, and then I switched I think back once the DLC came out, and I was just like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like you just don't remember. Yeah. You're just pushing all the wrong things, and it feels weird. And like, with everything that happened with my daughter, I haven't touched a game in like 2.5 weeks until literally last night. I only had I put on Horizon for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because that's all I had. And still I was just like, oh, it's
hard when you've, had a distraction or something to pull you away from a game, and then to go back to a game and get back into that, like, I want to play games thing. It's tough. I've had plenty of times where I've just been like, I'll just watch TV.
Absolutely. Sometimes we're just tired. We're dads.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're just tired, and so you can be too tired to even play a game.
Yeah. Yeah. So they did remake this game for the Game Boy Advance. It came out in 2004. They expanded the story.
Yes.
They had 3 new characters added, which, I mean, on top of 30 characters already, that's insane.
It is.
They had 3 new battles. I guess they just added battles to maybe level you up a little bit to make it maybe a little easier on the first playthrough.
Yeah, and supplement
that's what I would
additional
guess why they
storyline.
added 3 new battles.
Mm-hmm.
And they added a ramping difficulty system. So, like, if you beat the game and then you started another playthrough, it would give you a star.
Okay.
And with that star on your next playthrough, it's more difficult. And then you beat it again, and it adds another star, and it gets more difficult. So you have this rotating, like, difficulty setting that is just...
That's awesome.
It just keeps getting harder and harder and harder.
Of
which,
pain.
for people nowadays, that might be an allure to play that version of the game because
Right.
the difficult game genre is alive and kicking right now. People just want to play like the most punishing games that you can think of.
Yes.
Or they add stipulations that, you know, I can only use these weapons or I can only play it on the hardest difficulty for the first playthrough. Like, that's a big thing nowadays. So, like,
it is. You're right.
to play a game that you can have like this growing difficulty setting, like you
Pretty
can
cool.
you can get that difficulty setting and then add some stipulations through your playthrough, like I can't upgrade my weapons, or I can't upgrade this, or I can't do this, or
That'd be so painful.
they could do like a Fire Emblem like permadeath mode where like when a character dies, you can't resurrect them, you have to let them go. This
so
game
punishing.
offers so many different things that you can do like with the game and on your own, where like you can make it a
You challenge
permadeath where if
yourself,
someone
right.
dies, you can just forget about them and just bring in another character or what have you. Like, these kinds of games offer that kind of flexibility and just let your mind wander to play however you want to play it.
Absolutely. Yes. No, I agree. That's actually really cool that you mentioned the ramping difficulty, because I have the Game Boy Advance remake. I think it was Shining Force Resurrection of Dark Dragon, and it was cool because they added in a couple new characters, some additional story plot from the opposing factions perspective, if I recall. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. In this series, I feel like we should mention too. There's Shining in the Darkness, which was the first. It was like a dungeon crawler, actually.
I don't know if that was the first one or not.
It was Shining something. I feel like it was Shining in the Darkness. I could be wrong, but
it was a dungeon crawler.
But yeah, it was a dungeon
that.
crawler. I've looked up videos of it. It looks horrible. Looks terrible.
Yeah.
But I never played, but I've played Shining Force 1 and 2, and I mean it goes into
It goes all the way to like the PS2.
PS2. It's like Shining Force Neo. And then there are, of course, some specific overseas releases that we never got here in the West, sadly enough.
That seems to be a pretty common thing in the RPG genre. It's
Sad,
just
but true.
they give us the scraps, but over in Japan they get all the good stuff.
The goodies, yes. Like there's a 3-part conflict in like story arc where we got just the first portion and then just ends everything on a cliffhanger. And we just never had the last 2 pieces released, but that's life, Yeah, but for me, like, who's a diehard fan, like I still have a lot more to dive into with the additional Shining Force games, but Shining Force as it is for me is huge. I think it is that perfect storytelling blend of classic strategy.
Yeah.
It holds up. To me, it holds up. Like I just started replaying it for the first time in like 6-7 years, and still so good.
Yeah, as someone who had no nostalgia for it whatsoever, going to play that game, I enjoyed it. I really did. If you like RPGs, I would definitely jump into this if you haven't. If you don't like RPGs, I would probably avoid it, obviously. But
Of course.
it's a very easy pick up and play. It doesn't take forever to beat it. It's, like you said, it's very forgiving. It's very, like, just easygoing. I didn't get mad at this game. I didn't find myself frustrated when I couldn't beat a boss or whatever. And I had very minimal times. I think the only boss battles I had a problem with were the circus tent
In the circus, yes, with the witch. I
and
can't remember her name.
and like even the
Show.
final when you fight Dark Dragon.
Yes.
I got beat once, and I tried a different strategy where it was just everybody jumping on one of the heads,
Nice,
and then I just
yes.
did that, and it worked perfectly. And I was like, oh, okay, I could have just done that the whole time and
Right,
had no
right.
problem. So it's very easy play.
It
I
is.
wouldn't say easy, but it's very
It's enough challenge to keep it interesting.
yes.
You know,
And the story is just your typical RPG story. Nothing crazy. You don't have to be like focused in on
Not at all.
it, or you're gonna miss something. Like it's
easy going.
a good game.
It
It's
is.
a good game. Pick up, play it. It's very, very good. Very,
so we get
very
the
good.
LJ stamp of approval of this one.
I
Right?
give it the stamp of approval. I say if you like RPGs and you haven't played this game, pick it up, play it. You can't go wrong with this genre of
You can't.
RPG, like the 8-bit style, 16-bit style graphics.
They're charming.
They're charming.
They are. They're so
charming.
charming.
That's why.
the
That's
word,
why
yes.
a lot of those games are widely considered some of the best games ever made. Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 3, like Final Fantasy 7, like those style graphics just have this charm to them with the RPG genre that just is unmatched.
Completely agreed. It just captures something,
Yes,
a
yes.
bygone era, if you will.
Yeah, I agree. So the next game that we're going to cover, obviously we're not going to tell you because that
Absolutely
takes
not.
the fun out of it for us. It's going to be on the PS1. It's going to be a hard decision if I'm going to be completely
A
honest.
lot of contenders.
Because the PS1 era was just filled with
So many gems.
great games
Of every genre.
all genres.
All of them. Yes.
And that was, for me, at least, a time where I was really coming into my prime of gaming, and I was getting to that age where I could understand more and dive deeper into like these more complex games. So there's a lot of good games that we're gonna have to cover for this
Yes.
system. So if you want to like, comment, subscribe, give us some feedback, tell us what you want to see, tell us what you don't want to see,
Absolutely.
tell us what we can work on, give us some advice, anything that you want to say in the comments, just fire away. We want to hear from you. You can send us a message on Instagram, Dad's Game Room on Instagram. Go give us a follow or what have you. If you don't have to. I'm not forcing you.
No pressure.
But we do want to hear from you. We
do.
We
Mhm.
want some
Agreed.
some feedback, and we want some suggestions. We want to know what you want to see as well. Like,
Yeah, exactly. If you have any suggestions of games that
feed us some games,
Yes.
maybe some that
Hey, I'd
aren't
love
so
to cover
popular.
this.
I'm always looking for something new to play,
Absolutely.
especially from this time period and stuff. Like I feel like I've missed a lot of games from this time
Oh,
period.
absolutely.
Feel free, let us know.
Let us know. We're an open book.
This is Dad's Game Room. We'll see you later.
Take care. Thank you.
I just imagine him like looking at a bunch of people on set, being like, "Quiet, quiet,
Angry
and
Andy.
action." I'm definitely putting that in the episode, by the way.